BBC Radio Berkshire with Huey Lewis and the news and the power of love. We're talking to Alison Bryant from Hook, who has decided to become a secondary school teacher at the age of 55. And you were just explaining that it's basically the love of languages that made you want to pass this on to another generation, Alison. How is teacher training going? I mean, you and the current crop of new teachers, whatever their age, are having a unique experience, of course.
Yes, that's right, Bill. Everyone says that it's a very difficult time to train to be a teacher, but of course we haven't known it any other way. No. So I just philosophise that if we can get through this rather difficult year teaching students who are responding through masks and having really limited access to the classroom, it'll be easy in the future, or relatively easy. So we're taking it on the chin, and just glad that we're back in school face to face now.
How do students react to you? I mean, they will be used to trainee teachers, but they will perhaps be unused to ones of your age.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think to some degree that they see that I'm older than the average trainee teacher, and maybe at the beginning a little bit more respect from that. But sometimes they ask, what have you done before? And I think that's a very good question and a great opportunity for me to sort of explain what learning languages has done for me, and to infuse them in that way.
Yeah. How many languages do you have, and what are they?
Well, in the end, I've accumulated 5. So French and Spanish I studied at university, German back at school, and then as I travelled the world, I've added on Dutch and Mandarin Chinese.
That's fascinating. Now, I see the importance of knowing all of those, except with the greatest of respect to anybody from the Netherlands who's listening, Dutch. Because I have Dutch friends, and you know, everybody speaks English at least as well as we do in the Netherlands. And in fact, one time one of my friends had a problem at the airport, and he had to go and see somebody about, I don't know, lost luggage or damage or something. I don't know what it was. And the guy, the fellow Dutchman, said, "I'm afraid for compliancy reasons we have to conduct this interview in English." Yeah. So, you know, that's how much our language swamps the world. Why bother with, dare I say, a lesser language like that?
That's right. Well, I found myself living for 2 years in Antwerp in Belgium, where the language is Flemish but fundamentally Dutch, and I just love languages, so I learned it.
Right, it was just for pleasure.
I did a little bit recently because the 2 wonderful schools where I've been training, the Hurst in Borghurst and the Willink in Burfield, have asked me to teach a little bit of German alongside of the French and Spanish. Yeah. And so I've had to blow the dust off my German because I'm afraid now that will come out in Dutch. So in a way, I've regretted the Dutch recently. It's just fun to learn different languages.
Yeah. And when you were in countries where those other languages that you mentioned were spoken, I bet there was always a slight raised eyebrow, because here comes a British businesswoman, and of course we'll have to speak English, because you know those Brits, they've got no foreign language skills at all. I bet they're rather wrong-footed them, which might be perhaps good in business, did it?
Yes, I mean, that's part of the fun of it, really, to sometimes stay quiet and then reveal that you have been understanding. But I think the biggest shock was in Taiwan when I was over there, because not many Taiwanese people at that time spoke English, and to see an English woman speaking Chinese was literally, it looked as though they'd seen a talking dog or something. It was
I bet.
Really,
I bet.
Quite fun. It's different now. I think a lot of Chinese and Taiwanese people speak English rather well, but
right, so
you always get a little bit of an edge by speaking to someone in their own language, and that's what I'm sort of trying to put across to students now, that it really is an advantage if you can do that.
Because normally when you were conducting business with people from countries like that, then you'd have an interpreter, and you never, I suppose, know, do you, exactly what messages the interpreter, who in a very powerful position, are passing back and forth. Neither side really knows.
That's right, yes. Yeah, the fun of learning a language is that even when you see things translated on TV or subtitles, you sometimes just realise that you're not quite getting the full truth.
Now, clearly you've kept your brain alive over the years, you know, learning a whole new language just for fun, for example. But nonetheless, what about the slog of tutorials and lectures and essay writing. Was all the muscle memory for that there, or was it a little bit creaky, at least to begin with?
I think creaky would be a fair description. You spend your business career writing briefly in bullet points, and then you get back into a university environment. And as wonderful as the PGC course is at Reading, it ramps up very quickly, and you get into writing in an academic way and referencing everything, and you have to really blow the dust off and get back with that. But there's plenty support for it, but both at Reading and, as I mentioned, from Now Teach. I mean, that's an organisation of career switchers who are feeling the same pains as me. So I feel well supported on all sides.
You have set me up a treat there, because I was just about to say, let's also have a chat with the co-founder of Now Teach, who is Lucy Kellaway, who's on the line now. Hello, Lucy.
Hello.
So a 70% increase in applications during the first lockdown alone. You've been a busy girl then.
Oh my goodness, I have been a busy girl, or rather my team have, because I'm actually teaching myself as well. But yes, so Now Teach, we set it up for people who had one successful career and really wanted to do something more useful with the rest of their lives. Now, this was quite a resonant message 4 years ago when we began. But it's just taken lockdown to really change how people feel about office jobs, really. I mean, who wants to be sitting in their bedroom on Zoom all day? I think it's also maybe made people think more about key workers, more about what really matters in life. So we've been trying to push this before COVID, but, COVID comes along and our case is made for us. So, yes, there's been this massive increase in people contacting Now Teach and wanting to become teachers, which is truly brilliant.
And it's great that you're there, but why do we need you anyway? Why do we need a charity to help professionals who are clearly, achievers? They've got on in life. You'd maybe think they were kind of self-sufficient people who could just go and learn a new career, but they need you. Why?
Okay, so why is the charity a good thing? It's not for we shouldn't feel sorry for the successful
not that sense of charity. No, yeah.
There's been a huge shortage of teachers. Staff rooms aren't very diverse places. A lot of very young teachers, which is brilliant. But we thought, hang on a minute, there is this big resource in the country of all of these professional people who have something to share with children who need it most. Let's help them do that. But actually, just to be clear, could all of these people, me included, have become teachers without Now Teach? Of course they could. Mm-hmm. But we exist because as we've just heard on this programme, there are particular challenges that are experienced by older people who become teachers, because it is a pretty weird thing to do. Mm-hmm. And it becomes much easier if you're doing it in a network with a lot of other people who are going through those same challenges.
Okay, so one example of something perhaps I wouldn't think of that might be a stumbling block for an older trainee teacher.
Well, I don't want to be too stereotypical, but I was absolutely useless with the technology. So there's that, but also schools have changed a lot since we were in them too. Also, there are things that you have to unlearn. So some of our people, have done maybe successful jobs in business, but they mustn't go into schools thinking that they know the answers. It's really important that we start off humble, because we don't know anything about teaching when we begin. We know as little as a 22-year-old does. So just to have a group of us just saying, hey, look, be really careful when you begin, that you are, that you are very humble. And also we help people get over that blow when you're used to being quite good at something. Most people are terrible at teaching when they begin, and that can be quite difficult. So we help people prepare for that and say, look, it's completely normal. Yes, you'll be pretty rubbish for the first year, but you will get better and it's fine.
Alison, did anybody say to you when you said you were going to do this, I perished the thought, but I have to ask you, is it really worth it now at your age, all those sorts of remarks?
I think mostly I said that to myself, Bill. When I took stock about this time last year, I dared to look at the end of my career and count back and realise, gosh, there's only a decade left. And as I said before, if I hadn't done it a year ago, I probably would have figured, oh, well, that's less than 2 cohorts that I'll see through the school. It's probably not worth it. So I think I pushed it as late as I felt I could. But no one else has suggested that it's not worth it. No, I mean, I think younger teachers actually don't stay that long in the profession. So in terms of the return on investment that a school will get from me, I think it's just as good as they would have typically from a younger teacher. So I think a decade is well worthwhile.
Lucy, do you have examples of people that you've supported who are even noticeably older than? So I shouldn't say even; it's so rude, isn't it? who are a bit older than Alison?
Yeah. Okay. So in our first year, our youngest was, I think, a mere young thing of 43, right. And our oldest was 70.
70! Wow.
Yeah, hang on one sec. So I think, obviously, age depends on the person, but what Alison said is so right about younger teachers. So the average length of time that younger teachers stay in the profession is only 5 years.
Gosh.
So that could still mean that a really enthusiastic 70-year-old could be bang on average in that case. Yeah. I mean, so... trends have changed so much. Not only is there sort of longevity, people can't even afford to retire. So that any idea that we retire, kind of in our 60s is pretty out of date anyway.
Yeah.
So I started when I was 58, so just a little bit older than Alison. I'm now 61 and going strong. So
how's the 70-year-old getting on?
The 70-year-old doing fine, in fact. So, but we also have lots of younger people doing it too. So, loads of people in their 40s and some in their 30s. So what unites us really is that we are bringing experience of whatever we did before into the classroom, and with any luck, that kind of broadens out our teaching a bit and broadens the way that we communicate with our colleagues, our students, and their parents too.
And I think just, in any workplace, certainly I love the fact that I work here with people of a huge variety of, not just ages as well, but, backgrounds and so forth. And, the more variety, the more it'll suit the bigger number of people, as I would have thought. Great job. Lovely to talk to you both. Huge. When are you going to qualify, Alison, finally?
I'll be finished on the course in late June this year.
This year, right. How are you going to mark that, have you thought?
Well...
Assuming we've got a bit of freedom of movement then.
I'm actually working on a project to renovate a house in France, and I'd love to get back there and celebrate there.
If you want something doing, give it to a busy person. Give the job to that's incredible. Good luck. Thank you both so much. Alison Bryant, that was, and Lucy Kellaway from Now Teach.